What is up? My name is Matt. Welcome back to Gone Diggin'. Brandon from Adventure Archaeology, and we're here in Alabama. Whenever I go traveling, I want to explore local history, and we are in a really cool place. He's featured it on his channel. I figured I might as well feature it here on mine. We are in TanneHill State Park, which would have been, you said Roupe's Valley.
Roupe's, R-O-U-P-E-S, Roupe's Valley.
Roupe's Valley Foundry, which later forged the iron to supply the Selma Arsenal during the American Civil War. This place is gigantic. It is crazy that this was all done by hand. Right behind us, we have the wheelhouse or the blower house. You can see the big furnace wheel that supplied air to the foundry. And we're gonna go show you around, so stick around, let's go. So how many forges were here? We have one over here that seems like this is probably the original. And then you have all the different ones. You have the pathways that they would enter the forges. And at its peak production, it was producing 22 tons?
Yeah, I think so.
22 tons of iron ore. It took iron ore and created iron pigs. Pigs is a special word for the base material for cannons. And at the very beginning, it was producing this. It's pig iron. It's just a big bar that they would turn things into kettles and cooking pots. So really super neat. This is how the everyday utensils were made. Items, pots, pans.
It actually started in the 1830s, so that was your original furnace, like you said, over there. And then whenever the Civil War came along, they had a need to make cannonballs and all that kind of stuff. So they come along and they added that secondary furnace that you see here. Even though it's twice as big, they still only call that a second furnace. So you've got two here. That's the original. This one over here is the one that was added for the Civil War stuff that came in. And the lighter, the rock that you see at the top, that's because that's where this was refurbished from it being destroyed in 1865 during a raid.
I think it's actually really impressive, the overall size of these blocks. And I mean, people look at like the pyramids and stuff, but look how big this one block is right here.
That's a couple tons by itself.
Yeah, and just to lift it, 4 foot, there's a wedge still stuck in there where they wedged it up.
That one. There's one that size, 20 foot up?
Yeah, and they go all the way up there. And this is probably 40, 50 foot tall. Now there's a line where the furnaces, after they were standing here ruined, and they were actually restored to make this such a cool kind of historical park. So, but you can still see the original layers here. The pipes are as they would have been during the production time during the Civil War. And I'm sure they were upgraded from its original beginning in the 1830s as the site was developed. I mean, you're looking at 60 years of what would have been work and then rebuilding there. So when we talked about the piping and the blower house, this was the original blower house. And basically what you have is a water wheel that turned a large fan, and then the air would have come through here and then come through these pipes to help feed these gigantic furnaces. So then there's a pipe that will show you where that comes down into the only furnace you can actually still look up into the top of. So currently we are looking straight up the furnace, and we would have been in one of the superheated chambers that would have been close to 2,000 degrees. If you look on the walls, you can still see remnants of the slag from the superheated coal-fired furnace and where they were making all the iron. Now down here you have a pipe. I know it's tough to see, but this would have fed the furnace here as well. So very cool. Walking around looking at really cool stuff, including this green piece of, it looks like glass, but it's not, right?
Yeah, that should be slag from the furnace.
Right, so that's green furnace slag. Now this is a state park and this is a protected archaeological site, so it will return to the river upon which it was found, but it's really cool to see the different color in the slag. Normally this stuff is like dark black. But back to your home. We have here, this is the channel where the water would have come out of the blower house and fed back into the original Mill Creek. So we've just kind of been perusing and looking at some of the different stuff here. And according to the local history and everything else, the slave quarters, which I know that's a hot topic in American history and really current events right now. This is the remnants right here with probably a foundation stack here, and you probably had some sort of building. You can see some mounds stuck in the woods back, probably some flat areas where they would have had some sort of outbuildings, maybe even a privy, something like that. And then there's a large hole that could have been a cistern, maybe a well, and then a square block over there, which sometimes from where I'm from in Virginia is known as a mounting block. And it would have just been a simple stone to help you get up onto your horse, maybe even load your carriage. And depending on what this was used for, or what this building was used for here, this could also have been a cornerstone. You have a stone here, and then you have another larger stone up there. So could have been used for a lot of different stuff. You have a big pile of bricks. So maybe this was a big house here. It could have been an office, or maybe even a large slave house here. So in 1865, what cavalry unit was it?
I think it was the 8th Iowa.
8th Iowa came in and burnt the foundry, which sounds crazy, but it meant that they burnt all of these houses and all these outbuildings you see. They freed 500 slaves and displaced all the white mechanics. So basically burned all their houses down. They knew that to stop the American Civil War, they had to hit the South where it hurt, and that was the production of munitions, of ammunition, and things like that. Because this foundry supplied so much of the Selma arsenal, which was vital to supplying munitions, guns, rifles, cannonballs, cannons to the South, this was a crippling blow to the Selma arsenal. The Civil War site, the history here, all of the different generals, and then there's a picture of the Selma arsenal. So pretty amazing stuff. Spencer repeating rifle, if anybody knows anything about that. They said you could load it on Sunday and fire it all week long. That's because it held 7 bullets, and it made cavalry of the 1864-65 period unmatched. They would just absolutely, the Confederate cavalry could not handle the firepower of the Spencer repeater. Really fantastic metal cased cartridge, and really helped change the end of the Civil War.
And that is an actual picture of the Selma arsenal. So that's what this furnace was feeding. Basically all of the iron went down to here, and that's where the reserves were. There was actually a ton of good stuff found in this river along that line, which is a very protected site now. But here there's actually a Civil War museum that displays some cannons, cannonballs, all that good stuff that was in there. So pretty neat to think about that it traveled between here and there on a Confederate railroad, which hopefully if we got time, I'll show you that Confederate railroad too.
Sounds good, man. So also by that time, the late 1860s, the steam engine was predominantly, the railroad had started to move across the west of the United States, creating the Transcontinental Railroad. And this was the steam engine house that helped fire these furnaces over here as well. Just absolutely massive structures and super cool. Just the idea of the size of this thing. I mean, I wish you could capture it on film, but this thing is probably 50 foot tall, and some of those blocks up there are just huge. And I guess this was access, and I'm not real sure what they did up top. That's all blocked off for my safety and yours. And then the creek right here that fed the foundry the water that it needed. Really amazing stuff. And if you're ever in Alabama, come on down and check the foundry and the historical site out here. Super neat, beautiful place, creeks and all kinds of fun stuff. but just really awesome. So my name's Matt. There's Brandon over there. And we hope you liked this short exploration and local history video. Really like doing this kind of stuff. And I believe if you go and travel, you should go and see local things. And Brandon was cool enough to take us out and give us the $10 tour. So till next time, my name's Matt. We'll see you here.
Take a picture of you with like this in the background as a thumbnail.
Yeah, we can do that. That's
The plants growing out of the side of it is pretty cool.